Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the Minecraft Survival Let's Play. So in today's episode, I want to work on a project that I probably should have done a long time ago. This world is actually 2 years old at this point. It turned 2 years old just a few days ago. And I still don't have a source of fuel or a reliable way to get fuel to smelt all of my items. So I do have some dried kelp blocks over here, not too many. I think I've got a full shulker box of them there. But I actually don't have a farm to get any more. I do have my wither skeleton farm over here in the nether, but this thing's still a work in progress. It's not very reliable at the moment. But if I can make my way down here somehow, I am stocking up on a little bit of coal. But like I said, it's not very reliable. It's far from finished, so I can't really use this as a main fuel source. So there is quite a few different farms you can build to get fuel. I was thinking about doing a lava farm because I've got plenty of iron, so I could easily get the buckets that I would need for that. But I think the best way to go about it is to do a kelp farm. So there's a few different ways to do these. Because I'm on Bedrock Edition, I could do a 0-tick kelp farm, but I don't really agree with those. I think they are kind of cheaty. They're also very unreliable. So I don't think I'm going to go for that method. There's also the big underwater kelp farms that you can do, and those are ones that people do on Java Edition. But I don't really want to go for that. I think because I'm on Bedrock Edition, I'm going to go for a different method. So I'm pretty sure on Bedrock you can use bone meal to grow the kelp like this. I don't know if you can do that on Java as well, but I'm on Bedrock Edition, so I think this is what I want to try and take advantage of today. So I got the idea that if I build a kelp farm that uses bone meal, right next to a skeleton spawner, I can easily get all of the bones to turn into bone meal, and then I can use that to grow the kelp. And I do actually know where there is the skeleton spawner on this world, so it's just here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to use this one. It's kind of in the way of the strip mine entrance that I've got. So this is like the original strip mine that I built. So I don't think this one's going to be any good for this project. Maybe I'll do something else with this one day, but I'm going to need more room than this. I wonder if anyone remembers me showing that spawner for the first time, because I'm pretty sure I've not showed it in a video since the first episode of this series, which was like 2 years ago now. So it's just a little distraction here. I keep buying all of the coral blocks off of these wandering traders now. I think it's just going to be a good way to stock up on them over time, just in case I need them for anything. They're kind of annoying to farm, like going under the water and destroying the biome. So I just buy them from the wandering traders every time I get the chance. But anyway, the reason I came over here to the farming area is because I remember finding a spawner over here. So I found a skeleton spawner when I was digging this area out for the record disk farm. And I actually came here earlier to investigate because I remember it being down here somewhere. And this is what I found. So it looks like the spawner used to be here, like you can see the cobblestone and the mossy cobblestone. But the spawner has been removed, like it would be over here somewhere. But it looks like the new world generation has kind of overlapped with the old world generation, and it's just completely removed the spawner from existence. So that's kind of annoying because this would have been the perfect area to build the kelp farm. Of course, it's in the farming district, so it's kind of, you know, it just adds up that I would build it over here. But it looks like I'm going to have to try and find a different spawner. So I think the best way to do this is probably just to run around the caves around here, underneath the farming area, and see if there's any more. If I can't find one over here, I'll try and find one closer to the base. Okay, I think I might have made a bit of a mistake there. So I thought this is where the skeleton spawner was, but if I just jump down here and then go around the corner, you'll see there's actually a skeleton spawner just here. So maybe this is the one that I found before. I've already lit it up and stuff in the past, so I must have been here before. This was probably the one that I found when I was digging out the record disk farm just over there. Now that I know where the spawner is, I can start getting some blocks together to build this thing. But I've got a bit of a different idea for today's episode. So instead of just selecting the blocks that I want to use, I would probably use like deep slate and spruce wood like usual. I think I want to try and randomize the block palette. So I've got 5 random block palettes here. I got these from a website called like Minecraft Block Palette or something like that. But I kind of want to try and get better at building, so instead of just using the same blocks all of the time, I thought this would be a good way to mix it up. So here is 5 separate block palettes that I wouldn't usually use. And this is number 1 over here. This is number 5 over on this side. And I'm just going to ask Alexa and see which one she picks. So Alexa, pick a random number between 1 and 5.
Here's a number between 1 and 5. It's 5.
5. So I'm going to use this one right at the end. And this was probably the worst one for it to choose because I don't have a good way of getting the mud at the moment. So I'm going to have to work on that before I work on the project. But yeah, this is the block palette that I'm going to be using. It doesn't mean that I can only use these blocks, but I'm going to try and have all of these blocks in the build somewhere. So I actually had to go and collect most of these items because even though I've got a big supply of most items in this game, I just didn't have any of the items that I needed for this block palette. Apart from the moss and the calcite, which I had some of. I definitely want to build a better farm for the mud in the future, but I tried looking up a quick and easy bedrock mud farm. But I couldn't really find one, but it is a nice block and I want to use it more in my builds. I do want to build a farm for every single item in this game at some point. And I think a mud farm is one that I'm going to build pretty soon because it is a nice block to build with. And it's kind of annoying to farm manually, so if I could kind of automate the process, it'd make it a lot easier and I'd use it more often in my builds. And the final item that I need to collect is the mangrove roots from these mangrove trees. And I definitely need to build a farm for these in the future because it's so annoying collecting these manually like this. But I don't really know how it would be possible to farm these items because of how random the trees grow. And they kind of grow all over the place in different directions. So yeah, some of them are massive as well and some of them are really small and there's only like 2 or 3 logs. So I don't really know how you'd build a farm for these, but I'm sure someone's come up with a good design already. But this is what I need here, the mangrove roots. So yeah, I'm just going to mine the rest of this tree and that should be enough. And these are all of the items that I managed to get overall. So the moss was easy to get, I built the farm for this pretty recently. And then the calcite here. I always collect the calcite every time I find a geode. And it just kind of builds up, so I've got some here. And then all of the rest of the items I had to farm. So the mushrooms, I've also got the stems. I don't know if I'm going to use them in the build or not. I got plenty of mud and then I got the wheat to turn it into the packed mud or whatever it's called. And then the bricks and all of that. I've got the dark oak logs here. And then finally the mangrove roots. I've also got the mangrove logs. I don't know if I'm going to use that in the build, but I'm just going to take them anyway. So I was kind of hoping that while I was collecting all of those resources, I would come up with some kind of plan or design for this area. But I still don't really know what I'm going to be doing. I think the best thing to do is just start digging out the area that I think I'm going to need. And then hopefully I'm just going to come up with some kind of plan. So I think these spawners you need to dig a 9x9 around the outside. So I'll just start by doing this. Dig out a little bit more space. And then hopefully I can come up with some kind of plan. I dug out the space that I need here for the spawning room. So this is 4 in each direction and then 3 blocks up and 3 blocks down. And I think what I want to do in here is replace the walls with some black concrete. And this is just going to make it look nicer instead of having like the stone and then the ores and the gravel in the walls. So I'm just going to make all this black concrete. And I got the idea that I could have a little viewing platform here. So just pretend these stone blocks here are tinted glass. So I could look into the spawning room, I could see all of the skeletons spawning and getting pushed down by the water. And it won't affect the spawn rates because tinted glass doesn't let any light go through. So this is the idea that I want to work with, and then I'm just kind of hoping that some other ideas come to mind while I'm doing this. So I'll have the spawning room here and then the viewing window. And then I can dig out some more space here. And this is where the rest of the room's going to go. But I want the viewing window of the mob farm or the skeleton spawner here. And that's going to be like the main focal point of the room. So yeah, I can just kind of work with this. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just dig out the walls and then replace all of this with some black concrete. Okay, that's all of the black concrete in place. And I don't really know how well you're going to be able to see this on YouTube. But I can't really see it too well here. But this is 9x9. So if I go underneath the spawner here, you can see there's 3 blocks. And then it goes 4 blocks in each direction. So 4 blocks that way, and then this way as well. And then there's only 2 blocks above the spawner, so 1, and then the second one is where the torch is. But yeah, this is the size of the room, and I'm going to put some water here on this side, and then all of the water is going to push the skeletons down here, and this is why I've left this as stone for now, because this is where the skeletons are going to fall down. But we'll get to that a little bit later. First of all, I want to get the tinted glass in place here. I actually don't have a way to farm the amethyst crystals at the moment either. That's another project that I need to work on soon. But over here at my witch farm, I've been digging this perimeter out. I've put a lot of time into this already, but I found this geode down here. I think all of these are fully grown because I've been spending some time in the area lately. So I've got my fortune 3 pickaxe here. I'm going to try and not break any of the blocks. And I'm just going to get all of the crystals, and this should be enough to make all the glass that I need. I can't actually remember the crafting recipe for the tinted glass, but I've got about 11 stacks of the amethyst shards here, so this should be way more than I need. I think there's actually a few more down there that I missed, which I'll quickly get. Now I can fly back to the base, I'll craft it up, and then we can get back to work on the skeleton farm. Okay, so I've got the tinted glass in place, and you can see that I've changed my plans a little bit here. So I realised that it wasn't really going to work with how I wanted to do it before, because I wanted this to be the centre of the room. So you come into the room and then this is like the big focus point and it's supposed to be the centre. And this has a 1 wide centre because obviously the spawner is only 1 block, so that's an odd number. And then on the other side of the room I wanted the trident killer, which is either 2 blocks or 4 blocks depending on how you count it. Obviously that's an even number and then that's an odd number, so it just wasn't going to match up the way I wanted it to do. So I've changed my plans a little bit here. So instead I've got the tinted glass going all the way around here. And then you can see I've dug out the area for the room, so you can see the spawner wherever I stand in the room. And I do need to go in there and place something above the spawn to stop that from happening. I do have some chains up there, I think you can just about see them. But that didn't stop it from spawning, so I'm going to place some glass or some concrete or something. And for right now the skeletons are just falling into the hole there. But I do need to sort that out. That's probably the first thing I'm going to do is sort the trident killer out and then the water streams to get them to the trident killer. But anyway, you can see that I've dug out the room here. So I've got a general plan. It'll probably change a lot still, but I'm thinking here is going to be the entrance. So I'm going to fall down here into the room. This will be the exit. Over here is going to be the trident killer. So I'm going to stand here. I'll be able to see the skeletons spawning and falling down the hole. And then I'm going to have a lot of storage on this wall. And I'm thinking over here I'll probably have the kelp farms on this wall and then more storage here. Or maybe the other way around, like the kelp farms here and storage over there. I don't know exactly, but I've got a general idea of how I want this room to look. So I don't want to waste any more time, I just want to get straight into this because I've already been recording this episode for a few days and I feel like I've not really done anything yet. Getting straight back to work on it, I started by making a way in and out of the project. I knew that I was going to be going back and forth to the base to get loads of resources during this project, so I thought I might as well make the way in and out. Once I had that sorted, it was time to get to work on the trident killer. And even though I've made loads of these in the past, I always seem to get it wrong the first time. But after a little bit of messing around, I managed to get it to work. So I quickly made a water channel that took these skeletons from the spawner all of the way up and then down into the trident killer. And I tested it out and it was all working fine. So I could move on to the storage area. So I made sure I had plenty of chests down for the bones and the arrows. And then I went behind to do a little bit of redstone. So I've used these item filters loads of times in the past. It's a design by Impulse SV. I use them for pretty much all of my projects. They're extremely simple. And they worked fine for this project. Once I had all of the item filters in place, I could start placing the water to carry the items around and to put them into the right hoppers. And then I moved on to the other side of the project. So I wanted to get some chests down for where the kelp is going to be stored. And I also placed down all of the smokers, and I wanted to add a little bit of the mangrove wood in here. I've not used it before and I thought this would be a good time to finally use it. So there's not too much of it, but I think it fits in well. And finally I just went around the place and added a few other small little details. I wanted to add some of these skeleton skulls, I just think it makes sense to have them. And then I added a little trim around the farm as well with some dark oak. Okay, so this is what I've got so far here. There's still a lot of work to do in the roof and the floor to make the room come together a lot more. But I'm pretty happy with the general shape and stuff so far and what I've done in the walls. So it's pretty basic. I've used loads of trident killers before on this world. But if you don't know, you can hold a looting free sword like I've got here. And then if a trident killer kills a mob and it's your trident inside, you will get the looting free effect. So that's why I wanted to go for this farm. I can stay here AFK with my looting free sword and I will get the looting free drops. So that means I get plenty of bones, which is what I want the most here. And then I also get a lot of arrows which are getting stored over here. I don't really need these. I'm probably going to fill up these chests and then the rest of the items are just going to get destroyed. But I'm going to get plenty of arrows. But I mostly want all of these bones and I'm going to get plenty of bones as well. And I've got some storage in the middle. I'm going to craft up the bones into bone blocks and then I'm going to store all of the bone blocks in there. So that's what I've got going on the skeleton side. I kind of like how this side looks. I added some bone blocks up here. I just kind of thought it made sense, like it's a skeleton farm. Put some bone blocks as decoration. But I'm not sure how it looks on the other side with the kelp blocks. I tried the same thing but with the dried kelp. I don't really like that as much. So I might change all of this. I'm not really too sure how I'm going to finish the decorations. But I just want to get the kelp farm up and running first. And then I'll focus on the rest of the room. And you can see that I've actually dug out the space for the kelp farm. So it's going to go in here, and then I've dug out some space behind here as well. So all of the kelp is going to come from the kelp farm straight into the smokers, and then I'm going to get dried kelp. But I do need to get this farm up and running first. And I've actually come up with a design that I don't think anyone else has done. So I'm going to build that here. I'm going to do a quick tutorial for it in case anyone else wants to build this on your world. So I've actually got most of the items in my inventory here that I'm going to need. And then I also need some observers and pistons from in here as well. So I should have everything that I need, but if not, I'll go and get it. Okay, this is me from the future. I'm currently just editing this video, and I got to the part where I'm editing the kelp farm tutorial, and watching it back a second time, I just did such a bad job of explaining it. I also built a lot of stuff and then ended up tearing it out and doing it differently. So the tutorial just isn't any good. So I'm going to cut that from the video. But if enough people do want a tutorial for the kelp farm that I use in this video, I will be happy to make one in a creative world and I'll post it as a separate video and I'll try to do a better job explaining all of it. But yeah, I'm only going to do that if enough people do want it. So just let me know down in the comments if you want one and I might do one in the next few weeks. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention this because I am going to cut the kelp farm tutorial from the video and it didn't really make sense if I just cut it out and didn't say anything. So I wanted to add this and I'm just going to get back into the video after the kelp farm was built. So I'm pretty sure that's everything working now. I've tested it out for a few minutes and it seems to be working fine. I just need to remember that when I'm not using the farm, just to flick this lever and that will activate the pistons so no source blocks get formed. But anyway, if I come back here, you can see all of the kelp is just going into these chests at the moment. So I've got 8 double chests and I need to get all of this kelp into these smokers over here. And there's 8 smokers. So it kind of makes sense for each one to go to a different smoker, but I don't really know how I'd set that up. So I just need to get all the items into the smokers somehow and try to split it evenly between all of them. So like the rest of this project, I don't really know how I'm going to manage this. So I'm just going to work on it a little bit and I'll probably do this off camera because I think it's going to be a little bit boring. Okay, so it's been a few days now, but I did manage to come up with a solution to get all of the kelp evenly spread into all of the smokers over here. It's really not an ideal solution. I'm a little bit embarrassed to show it, but I'm going to go behind here and you can see all of the redstone and all of the water streams. So all of the kelp comes down into these chests, of course. So there's 8 of them overall, and then each chest has its own dropper with a dropper clock. So you can see if I go around here, you can see the rest of them. There's 8 of them overall. And then each one goes into a water stream and then up to a different smoker over there. So you can see that all of the water streams have a bubble elevator that brings the items up here. So that's the first one there, and then the other 7 are over here. And this is kind of compact. It was pretty difficult to get all of this to work, but I managed to get it to work. And then each water stream goes into a different hopper. So the first one will come into this one, and then the second one into this, the third, all the way across to the 8th. And then I've got a little bit of extra storage with a barrel here as well. And that's just because if all of the items were coming straight into the smoker, it would get filled up too quick and some of the items would despawn. So I had to add a little bit of extra storage with a barrel there. So I'm just going to turn the farm on so you can actually see what it's like when it's running. And it's definitely not the ideal solution, as I said, but it does the job. It works just how I wanted it to work. So you can see all of the different droppers shooting all of the items out, and then they all go into a different hopper up there and then drop into a different smoker. It's just one of those projects that's very over engineered for what it actually does. I'm sure like people much better at the game than I am could do this much simpler than this. But this is the solution I came up with, and I think sometimes it's just fun to come up with your own solutions to problems like this. So yeah, this is all of the technical side of the farm complete, with the skeleton farm over here, the trident killer, the item filters behind here, and then the kelp farm, all of the water streams behind, and then the smelting system. That's all completed now. So all I've got left to do for this project is the interior. So I've still got to do the floor and the roof. But I can't really be bothered doing that today, so I think instead I am just going to go up the water stream here. And when I get to the top, I'm hoping I can just go straight back down and the room will have just decorated itself. And it actually did, so that's pretty useful. So of course I just decorated this. It didn't actually take too long, and I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. And I actually really do like the block palette. It's not the kind of palette that I would usually use. Like if I didn't choose a random one, I wouldn't have used this at all. I definitely wouldn't have thought of using the mushroom blocks and then the rooted, I forgot what these are called, I think like rooted mud or something like that. Yeah, these are some blocks I would never usually use in a build. So I kind of like the idea of choosing a random block palette, and I think that's something I'm probably going to do more often. And I was thinking when I was building this that it's probably one of my favourite things about Minecraft, that everyone could do the same project and every single one would come out differently. Like if every single person who plays Minecraft got given this same project, so you had to get a skeleton spawner and turn it into a bone farm, and then build a kelp farm nearby that uses the bone meal, and then you need the smelters as well to turn it into dried kelp. Even if everyone was given the same block palette to use with the mushrooms and the mud and the dark oak, I think everyone would still do it differently. Like this is my own style here, but everyone has like a different style and does it all differently. So yeah, that's just something I was thinking about when I was building this. So I've been using kelp blocks here to smelt down the kelp, and I just wanted to do a quick test to see like how much profit you will make each time, if I think you'd call it profit. So I filled this chest up with kelp up here, and then I put a full stack of kelp blocks in the smoker. So every time I use a full stack of kelp blocks, I will get 2 stacks and a little bit extra back each time. So I am going to be using the kelp blocks for the farm down there. I was thinking about setting up a bamboo farm or something and using that, but I think this is just the easier method. So I do make profit, and it's probably worth just using the dried kelp blocks as the fuel. Okay, so moving on from that project, there's one more thing that I want to do today. And I did the same thing at the end of the last episode. I just want to make a little bit more progress towards one of the challenges in here. And I forgot which one it is. I think it might be this one. So yeah, get all of the achievements. Of course, in the last episode, I did a few at the end. So I've only got 4 left to do here, as you can see. I did say that I was going to do all of these in today's episode, but I'm just not going to have the time. So I'm just going to do one of them, and I think it's this one here. Trade with a villager at the build height limit. So it's going to take a little bit of time to set up, but I don't think this one should take too long, so this is the one that I'm going to do. And while I'm here in this challenge room, I actually set myself another challenge. So I've made some lecterns here for all of the challenges that I've set for myself. So make each type of beacon there. Collect 1 stack of every item, that's of course the main aim for this world. And then collect 1 of every mob. I set this challenge a long time ago. It is something I plan to do on this world at some point. But this is a new one that I set for myself. So use each type of placeable block or item throughout the base. So I want to use 1 of every single block or item that you can place. So that's carpets, redstone components, trapdoors, ladders, item frames, flowers, like anything you can place. I want to have at least 1 of each somewhere around the base. So that includes like up here in the village, down in the hole in some of these rooms. I'm also going to go further down and have, I don't really know what down there, but I'm going to have something down there. Then I'm also going to have some secret rooms around the base as well. So I need to use 1 of every single placeable block somewhere around the base. And I've actually already used a load of different blocks, so I'm going to have to make a checklist of some sort. and like mark off all of the ones that I've already used. But yeah, that's just another challenge that I set for myself the other day, and I think that's going to be quite fun to work on over time. And I do still have a few more slots here for challenges, so I've got 3 here, and I've got 1 more over here, but this is probably going to be one challenge that I set for myself. So there's like 3 more. If anyone's got any ideas for challenges down below, just let me know, and if there's any interesting ones, I will pick them to do in this series. So I think I've got an idea here. So I'm over by my villagers. I've got 1 more left in there. The nitwit's useless, so there's just this one guy here. I'm going to bring him out with a minecart over here, and then I'm going to have a bubble elevator going all of the way up to the build limit. I'm going to do this with gravel, and then it's going to be easier to destroy it afterwards. And then I've got all the kelp I'll need, some other things in here. I think I'm also going to need a few more solid blocks, so I'll go back to the base for them. Hopefully this will work and it shouldn't take too long. So I'm just going to quickly set up the bubble elevator using the gravel. Okay, that's the setup done. That actually took longer than I was expecting. I always forget how high the world limit is. It's like 320 at the moment. I thought it was like 250. But I should just be able to put this here and kill this guy. I don't want this one. And hopefully the other guy comes in here. Press this. And then it should go straight up. I didn't actually think it would. I thought it would like stay here. I'm going to follow it up, and it does actually take like 20 or 30 seconds to get up here. It's quite a long way up. So I'm not really sure what's going on here, but this looks kind of weird. I don't know how to stop this. Maybe if I push out of the way. No, I think... Oh, no, that's not ideal. Yeah, I might need a new villager. So he's stuck under the water here. I might be able to save him. No, he's dead. I need a new one, and I don't think I've got any more. So I'm going to have to stay AFK until I've got some babies from the breeder up here. Okay, we got a second villager, so it's time for attempt number 2. So I don't think this one can go quite as bad as the first one. So I'm just going to place a block there, and then that'll stop it from falling down. And there's actually a wandering trader up here. I don't know if I can get the trade from trading with this guy, but that's kind of, I don't really want you anyway. So for some reason he won't link to the workstation that I've placed down here, so I can't trade with him. I think that might be because there's a different villager linked with it. So I'm going to go down here and see if any other villagers have turned into stonemasons. So it doesn't look like any of the other villagers have linked with this workstation, so I don't know why this one won't link with it. It might need a bed. I always forget how the villagers work, but if I put a bed here, I think I might actually need to put some solid blocks underneath that. So if I put a bed here like this, maybe then he'll link to it. But it doesn't look like... Oh, it is. Yeah, so now I should be able to trade. So I'll just buy some of these. And then... Did he just fall off the edge? So it doesn't really matter. I should get the achievement still. So I'll just wait up here until it pops up on the screen. So that definitely took longer than I was expecting it to take, but you can see I've only got the 3 achievements left to do now. So hopefully I can get these done in the next few episodes, and then that will be another challenge completed towards the challenge room. But 1.20 is going to be coming out soon, and of course there's going to be new challenges or achievements there. So I'm going to have to do them ones as well. There's still something really satisfying about watching like the gravity blocks fall down like this onto torches. You don't really see it too much anymore, but you used to do this a lot back in like the early Minecraft days. Or at least I used to do it a lot in the early Minecraft days. It's still really satisfying, probably one of the more satisfying things in the game. But yeah, this is the reason I use the gravel. It just makes it a lot easier to clean up. It shouldn't take too long. All of these will be broke on the torches. And then I can just pick all these blocks up and go back to the base. But anyway, with that, I've actually run out of time to record for today. I'm already a little bit delayed with this episode. I did want to try and get it out on Wednesday, which was yesterday. But instead, it's probably going to be out at the weekend at some point, probably on Saturday. But yeah, I just don't want to delay it anymore. I need to get on with the editing, and then hopefully I can get it uploaded on the weekend. So I hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.